Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Short Stories for Kids. I'm Lucy, and today we have a special request for a story called Samuel's Surprising Pet. Saturday morning couldn't roll around fast enough for Samuel. He was in the car, seatbelt fastened, long before his mom was ready. The pet store was on the edge of town, in an old brick building, with a large painting of a goldfish on the front. They had driven past it many times, but never been within. Until now, that is. Inside there were strange noises, odd smells, and lots of pets of all shapes and sizes. Gerbils and turtles, parrots and rabbits, rats and stick insects, and of course, puppies. They were incredibly cute with their big eyes and tiny bodies. Each and every one wanted to say hello and play. Samuel didn't know which one to look at first. They were all so sweet. The pet store owner, a short man with a bushy mustache, had ambled over, waiting for Samuel to make his choice.
Well, plenty of fine puppies there,
he said proudly.
And each one would make a fine pet.
So, said Samuel's mom, have you decided which one? Samuel hadn't. In fact, he was no longer looking at the puppies at all. There seemed to be a very different animal sat on a cushion in the corner. What's that? asked Samuel.
That? Said the pet store owner. Well, you see, that's a gorilla. I'm not too sure what to do with him. I ordered 8 hamsters, but instead they sent me 7. And him.
Is he for sale then? asked Samuel. The pet store owner rubbed his mustache.
Well, I suppose he is.
Half an hour later, Samuel's mom was driving home with her son, and a gorilla sat on the back seat. Samuel and the gorilla were holding hands. Have you thought of a name for him yet? asked Mom. No, he replied, looking up into the gorilla's face. I wonder what sort of name would suit him.
I've always quite liked Jonathan, said the gorilla. The car suddenly wobbled in its lane as Samuel's mom glared into the rearview mirror. He can talk, she said. Samuel grinned. I didn't know you could talk. Yes, funny, isn't it?
Chuckled Jonathan.
Who'd have thought it? A talking gorilla.
Back home, they needed to find somewhere where Jonathan could sleep. Samuel had thought that they'd be bringing home a small dog bed, but Jonathan was pretty large for that sort of thing. Fortunately, Samuel had bunk beds, and so it was decided that Jonathan should have the bottom one.
Oh, well, it looks very comfy,
said Jonathan, bouncing his bottom on the mattress. What about food? asked Samuel. I'm not even sure what gorillas eat.
Oh, well, you know, the usual stuff, said Jonathan. Leaves, bamboo shoots, fruit, chocolate cake.
No meat? Wondered Samuel as he eyed Jonathan's enormous teeth.
Nope, us gorillas are vegetarians. Did you say you had some chocolate cake?
No, I didn't, said Samuel. But I can have a look. Samuel had been prepared to give a lot of love and attention to a new puppy, and was now equally determined to give it all to Jonathan. Just because Jonathan was a hulking great gorilla didn't mean they couldn't do the things Samuel had wanted to do with a dog. The first of these was going for a walk. Jonathan, of course, didn't need a collar and a lead. He simply held Samuel's hand. They would walk around the neighborhood, with Samuel pointing out his school and his friends' houses. Understandably, most, if not all, of Samuel's neighbors had never seen a gorilla going for a stroll before, and this did cause a few problems. Mr. Baker was watering his flowers on the front lawn when Samuel and Jonathan passed by.
What?
He was so distracted by the sight that he didn't notice he was pointing the hose at his open-top sports car, which was now quickly filling up like a swimming pool. Samuel also took Jonathan along to the puppy training class his mom had booked. She had already paid for it after all. The lady running the class had never had a gorilla in her class before. She wanted to say no, but her sheet did show the lesson was paid for, so she just shrugged her shoulders and let them in. Today, the puppies were learning to sit and stay. The owners had to give the command, encourage their puppies to sit, and stay sat while they backed away. "Sit," said Samuel, rather unexpectedly. Jonathan walked out of the room. He reappeared moments later with a small armchair, onto which he did indeed sit. Stay," said Samuel.
Righto,
said Jonathan, and got out a book to read. Having a gorilla for a pet was, in many ways, nothing at all like having a puppy. And yet, Samuel never once thought he'd made the wrong decision. He had given Jonathan a loving home, and in return, Jonathan had become part of the family. The moments Samuel grew to love best were the lazy evenings in front of the TV. They would watch their favorite shows, snuggled up, snacking on fruit and the occasional slice of chocolate cake. Samuel enjoyed watching all his favorite dinosaur shows, while Jonathan rather enjoyed cookery programs, particularly the baking ones. One evening, they were clicking through the channels and came across the local news. They were doing a story about the zoo. Its major new attraction was proving to be a tremendous hit with visitors. It turned out that the zoo had recently built a beautiful gorilla house, but somehow it had ended up housing a tiny hamster instead. People had fallen in love with the little creature as they watched it climb ropes and swing on tires. It was now the most popular animal there. "Oh, that's amazing," said Samuel as he changed the channel.
yes, agreed Jonathan. Fancy that.
The end.